Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. To complete our quarter-final lineup, this will be our final match this afternoon. That's coming to you from Copenhagen. And now, ladies and gentlemen, in the third round of the Danish Darts Open, it's time to meet our players and time to meet the history maker, Brendan Dolan! And now, ladies and gentlemen, he is from the Netherlands. He is the world #1. He is the former two-time champion of the world, mighty Michael Van Gerwen!
Has been an absolute cracker in Copenhagen this afternoon session on the final day of action at the very first Danish Darts Open. It started off with a comfortable win for the #3 seed Peter Wright, 6-1, but everything in between that and this match has been very, very close indeed. 4, 6, 5 matches in there. But now it's down to the dominant force in world darts. There's no doubt who is the MVP of the darting draft. It's MVG, Michael Van Gerwen, the world #1. And it should, on paper, be an absolute breeze for Van Gerwen to make the final, because he's up against now a man who hasn't beaten him in a ranking event in over 6 years. If he gets through it, he'll take on Steve West, who's never beaten him. And then a match in the semi-final between either Mervyn King or Simon Whitlock, who have equally horrendous records against MVG. So Rob Malarkey, is it going to go the way that we all expect it to go?
I would be pretty surprised if it didn't. I thoroughly anticipate Michael Van Gerwen will come through this match without too much trouble.
Give us some reasons why Brendan Dolan could cause him trouble.
Well, he'll take a lot of encouragement from the fact that he's in the final day of a Euro Tour event for the first time in almost 3 years. It's been a long time. September 2015, when he made the final day, the last 16 of the European Darts Masters. He hasn't made a quarter-final, though, on the European Tour since July of 2015, when he made the last 8 at the European Darts Open. So at least he's back in business in terms of getting himself through to the final day. There have been moments of late where there is encouraging, or there have been encouraging signs for Brendan Dolan. Recently competed in his first PDC semi-final in 3 years as well, when he made the last 4 of the 12 Players Championship event. But he's got an awful record against MVG. 16 wins in favour of the Dutchman to 3 for Dolan. Their most recent meeting on the Euro Tour was in February of 2014.
140.
In the semi-final of the Dutch Darts Masters, MVG won that match 6-4, went on to win the title, and that was only his 3rd European Tour title. And here we are, 22 European Tour titles later, they meet again.
Yep, and Van Gerwen looking to continue his dominance, not just on the Euro Tour, but on the whole tour this year. And yes, there have been a few titles spread out, but if we take out the tournaments where Michael Van Gerwen hasn't entered, well, his win percentage is just incredible.
And then Uruguay 120.
However, Dolan has made a good start here. One little factor perhaps might be the pace of the game. I heard Steve West in his interview at the end said, you know, it's tough to play against Brendan Dolan. He's quality and he's slow.
Well, Dolan will have to make better of these sorts of opportunities. He hit 20 with his first 2 darts. He's left himself tops.
It kind of didn't matter, did it? It was the time to do it because he made a mess, but it hasn't really made a difference.
100.
One other crumb of comfort for Dolan as well, which we'll talk about in a moment. Just see first if he can wrap up this opening leg.
Doubles are harder to hit when the best player in the world is stood behind you waiting on any kind of finish, so that will be a relief for Brendan Dolan.
Yeah, an 18 darts hold of throw for Brendan Dolan. But Michael Van Gerwen, yesterday in his opening win over Scott Taylor, he only averaged 91.3. There were moments where Van Gerwen just didn't seem to be at the races. He was missing doubles. He missed 13 doubles out of 19 attempts yesterday. It's just as well perhaps that he wasn't up against an Adrian Lewis, for example, but look at this from MVG, a ton 80 backed up by a ton 40. And if Van Gerwen posts similar figures today, then Dolan might well have an outside chance. But
yeah, well, to give the flip side of that particular narrative, it's something that we've seen often before on the European Tour, where Michael Van Gerwen is not at his best in his first match, but then comes and absolutely destroys the field on the Sunday.
And everybody looks back at the opening match and says, well, you know, what might have been.
Yeah, that was their chance.
Van der Voort was leading 4-2 when they met in the second round in Gibraltar 2 weeks ago, and Van der Voort was beaten 6-4, and the rest was history. And again, Van Gerwen didn't play brilliantly against Steve Lennon in the final either.
That's a brilliant leg, as good as we've seen for over 5 years on the European Tour.
Yeah, nothing stunning about Van Gerwen against Steve Lennon in Zwolle, but that was more like it from MVG.
In fact, that was the kind of exception to the rule, wasn't it? Because Michael Van Gerwen started a bit flat and continued a bit flat, but still managed to win the title. Never really got going at all, I think. In fact, he summed it up himself as the previous European Tour tournament was his best ever collection of performances to win a title.
Yeah.
And the following one was his worst ever collection of performances to win a title.
Yeah, the one before was in Sindelfingen, wasn't it, where he was just averaging some plus right throughout the course of the weekend from the word. 10 darts for Van Gerwen there, though, to level things up at 1 apiece. And
97.
How many times have we seen that as well? Van Gerwen looks to be a little shaky in the first leg, but then suddenly blitzes through the next 6 and comes through. Dolan will be well aware of what might pan out here.
99.
So just to recap where we are in the Danish Darts Open, we'll return tonight, 7:15 local time. If you're watching, buoyed by the football result back in England, maybe not the rest of the UK will be too pleased about it. That's 6:15, and it'll start off with Peter Snakebite Wright taking on Menzo Suljovic. A tasty appetizer before we get into what I think is a really box office battle between Joe Cullen and Adrian Lewis, two talented showmen of the game. And it's Mervyn King against Simon Whitlock before the final quarter-final, which will feature Steve West and the winner of this match.
Yeah, so 2 unseeded players through, Lewis and West. Dolan looking to make it a holy trinity of 3 unseeded players. We had 3 unseeded players make the semi-finals in Gibraltar, so this would be a tall order for that to happen.
2 of those are still in this tournament. Van Gerwen,
58.
well, that was a first chance
Uruguay 84.
to get a real grip on the contest, but Dolan now has the opportunity to edge ahead once again. Might only get a dart at the bullseye. He's not even going to get that.
Well. Yeah, well, little wonder he's just turning around and looking into space after that one.
68.
Interesting actually, because Paul Nicholson, who will be sat back alongside us in Hamburg next weekend as Van Gerwen lets Dolan off the hook,
No score.
talked about those kind of finishes. He had a couple of big bull finishes in his run last weekend, and he said he doesn't even consider going for the trebles in that scenario. Guarantee your dart to win the leg.
Okay, on the third leg, Brendan Dolan.
And Brendan Dolan perhaps should have lost that leg, but didn't. Van Gerwen looking to make amends from the word go in leg 4.
Yeah, the Northern Irishman getting perhaps a rub of the green against the green machine.
Back-to-back 6-4 wins so far this weekend for Brendan Dolan, beating Martin Schindler in a very entertaining first round match, I have to say. Schindler certainly had his chances in that one, and again a player will be
100.
reflecting on what might have been, because I think Schindler should have come through that, but Dolan came through a very tough examination, and then beating the Highlander John Henderson 6-4 in the second round as well, with a similar sort of performance. Much better on the finishing in that match though was Dolan. He sharpened up on the doubles, similar sorts of averages. He clearly learned from his mistakes in the first round match, which he got away with.
96.
Just his third appearance on the Euro Tour this year. Made the second round in Austria and in Gibraltar. But there were signs of this from Brendan Dolan. We mentioned it before as well, about how he acquitted himself against Darryl Gurney in defeat in Gibraltar. I just thought there, you know, it was an encouraging performance by Brendan Dolan on the back of that recent PDC semi-final that he claimed at the 12 Players Championship event in Milton Keynes. Maybe, just maybe, there are one or two indicators here that Brendan Dolan might just be about to embark on a productive few months or so.
Yeah, perhaps a bit of bad luck that he's run into Michael Van Gerwen here, although he's
140.
ahead.
120.
And that semi-final came on the back of a quarter-final the previous day too.
60.
Van Gerwen only managed just half his score there, so Dolan has an outside chance. Statistically, the most infrequently hit checkout in the game, the 161.
85. 60.
Only half the bed to aim at. And the camera angle illustrating that, and Michael Van Gerwen couldn't find it, and he could find himself in a little bit of bother here.
Missed darts at tops for MVG to level the match, and Brendan Dolan is now looking at double 8 for a 3-1 lead against the world number 1 and the 25-time champion on the European Tour.
And that was a break for Brendan Dolan. Michael Van Gerwen
Game on.
may need to pull his socks up.
A 17-dart break on the Van Gerwen throw as well. That's a concern for MVG's supporters, and there are many here as well.
This is a man who's won
40.
14 tournaments already this year, Michael Van Gerwen, and this is only the 21st that he's played in. So even if he doesn't take the title this weekend, he will still be able to claim a record of winning 2/3 of the events that he's competed in.
Yeah, but there were those. I mean, since winning that 14th title in Gibraltar a couple of weeks ago, he's been on holiday, comes into this one, he'd have thought refreshed, with his batteries recharged as well. And we've seen it before from MVG. When he does come back after a little bit of a break, he comes back very strong.
93.
So far, not happening this weekend.
Yeah, it was the ones that he has lost out in. The
60.
main one was the German Darts Masters World Series event, where he lost in the quarterfinals to Dimitri Vandenberg, and of course the UK Open, where he was beaten by Jeff Bridges-Varn. A couple of big titles that have got away from MVG this year. Also that European Tour defeat at the hands of Ian White. The only one on the European Tour this year, because
140.
skipped one of the events. However, we are reaching crunch time in this
96.
time. And Gerwen down on a 2-darter, but Brendan Dolan has the chance to take out 1-2-1 and open up a 3-leg lead against the best player in the world. That chance has gone already.
81. 86.
At least for now.
Well, the way that Van Gerwen struggled with tops before, he's on double 16 this time around. And once again, the doubles are proving elusive, Chris.
Well, they were reminiscent of the two that he missed against Rob Cross in the World Championship semi-final. They were not far away. Well thrown, bad luck. Is the luck with Brendan Dolan in this match? Van Gerwen shakes his head.
Big moment that. First start was a real flyer.
32.
And Brendan Dolan knows he might not get away with it this time. Although carbon copies once again, Chris.
Incredible.
This is very unlike Michael Van Gerwen.
Getting shot up in there.
Well,
Michael Van Gerwen.
Finally gets there.
Seems like it's Michael to throw first.
It's a break back, but it didn't look to be on the cards. Five missed darts at double 16 before taking out.
Yeah, it's one of the sort of nuances of this game, isn't it? That a close dart at the double, one that narrowly misses, can actually cause an obstruction and make it harder to hit, where you can throw one miles away and you've left yourself with a better chance of hitting because you've got a completely open bed. But I tell you what, Brendan Dolan had the chance there to really put the pressure on Van Gerwen.
134.
And he spurned 3 clear darts.
Well, Michael Van Gerwen's only lost 10 matches this year. 2 of those were against Peter Wright in the Premier League, 7-5 each of those as well. Gary Anderson's beaten him, Raymond van Barnevel's beaten him.
137.
Michael Smith beat him in the UK Open qualifiers as well. But there have been some unlikely candidates to have come through and taken the spoils against the Dream Machine. You mentioned Jeffrey de Zwaan, Jermaine Wassermaner as well, Ian White, who has had a good time of it sometimes against Michael Van Gerwen, it has to be said, and Dimitri Vandenberg at the German Masters World Series too. Can Brendan Dolan add his name to that list?
136.
Had he gone 4-1 up, I might have given him a shout. As it is, you still have to fancy MVG, because we're back on throw effectively now.
Well, that's how good he is, isn't it? That he's trailing in the match, but you still feel that he's the one that's going to get the job done. Dolan really had a huge opportunity that may come back to haunt him. If Brendan Dolan were to win this match, how open would that bottom half of the draw be? 78 for MVG. It's only 1 dart. But that's all he needs this time.
So they can Brendan to throw first.
Well, has normal service been resumed? Not quite, I would suggest. 90.51 the average for MVG right now. It's similar to what it was yesterday against Scott Taylor.
Don't know what it is about this place, but we've had some really close encounters. A really late finish on Friday evening because of the amount of 6-4s and 6-5s. We're going to run over this afternoon too. Brilliant battles at the Brøndby Halle.
81.
MVG starting with 59 and he backs it up with a 60.
He just can't get any rhythm here, can he? And maybe that little bit of extra time he has to wait while Brendan Dolan is throwing is causing him a bit of trouble. As is the accuracy of the darts being thrown by Dolan.
Will that 180 bring out the best in MVG? It might well do. Indeed it has. Right back at you from Michael Van Gerwen. Crowd are just beginning to get wrapped up in this one.
Look at the numbers there. It's not dissimilar to what Michael Van Gerwen was producing yesterday against Scott Taylor.
95.
Well, he's trimmed off the 95 to leave himself a flat ton as Brendan Dolan. What will Van Gerwen leave himself here?
Could end up going through as the worst performer of the last 16.
In terms of the averages.
Not sure it'll alter any odds with the bookmakers, but that remains to be seen. Now, does Dolan look at 2 tops here? He did.
60.
And he's left himself tops again. Now, he missed tops and 10s when he had that opportunity for 4-1. Shovel 20 would have left double 16, but it's not inside.
He has had some horrendous luck in this match, Michael Van Gerwen. The amount of darts, doubles and trebles, placed narrowly outside the wire. Can Dolan take advantage this time and edge ahead once more?
Yes, he can. Well, what he would have given for that double 20 in leg 5. As it is, it's in leg 7, and at least it gives them a 4-3 lead.
100.
And Dolan, who knows, maybe the fact that he threw first in the opening leg, maybe, just maybe, that could well prove enough. It could prove decisive. He must know, he must appreciate now that Michael van Gerwen is there for the taking today. Still, you'd have to fancy van Gerwen, even though there are more points on the floor.
Well, if you take out a World Cup of Darts match-up between the pair, which was part of a greater match in 2014, which Dolan incidentally won by this scoreline, the current 4-3 lead that he has. Michael van Gerwen has won 14 consecutive matches against Brendan Dolan, a run stretching back to 2012,
83.
before he had even won a major title. This would really be a huge shock.
Well, it was a recovery to an extent from Brendan Dolan. He's down to 260, but unable to get himself into a position where he might threaten here. But once again, van Gerwen just struggling for trebles on a very, very consistent and a very alarming basis as well.
Might be a big chance around the corner, because just one treble would leave Dolan on a finish. 2, and he's in business.
96.
Now then, is this where van Gerwen turns the screw?
135.
I went for the ball with the final dart.
164.
Will expect to come back.
And he will come back, because Brendan Dolan has, well, rather kiboshed that particular opportunity with that second dart in particular. The first dart, of course, didn't help. Anyway, double 16 for van Gerwen. It's been a problem for him today, and he's not found it there either. He missed 5 attempts at double 16 in the 5th leg, and he can't find it there.
He's finding this hard work, Michael van Gerwen. He's not enjoying it at all. It's become a chore, this game of darts. And he might have his work cut out to win the match, because Dolan leads 5-3 and has the throw to send the world number 1 packing.
Well, well, well. We are on the verge of something pretty special, and something that is pretty unexpected as well. Michael van Gerwen was the 13-8 on favourite at the start of play today to win a 26th European Tour title. It was name your price for Brendan Dolan to win this match, let's face it. Michael van Gerwen needs to win 3 on the bounce, but you would not put it past him. A 180 on the Dolan throw, just to reapply some pressure at least.
140.
Van Gerwen has realised the situation that he's in, and all of a sudden he's found his focus.
134.
He's found his flow, he's found his mojo. Still, Brendan Dolan has the match under his control. 1 treble here. Well, he can leave a finish still.
.56.
But it's a huge one.
But what a way to wrap it up it would be for Brendan Dolan, the 44-year-old from County Fermanagh.
117.
Over to you then, Brendan.
107.
The history maker with a chance to make history at the Danish Darts Open. 170 to knock out the world number 1.
130.
Well, it took out the ball for good measure anyway.
Wasn't quite sure if that second dart was in or not. 70 the target for van Gerwen.
Heart-stopping moment for Michael van Gerwen.
And
look at that.
Not just accurate, but very clever too from Michael van Gerwen, because he'd been having no luck on double 16, so he decided to return to double top, and it proved to be effective. And now he comes charging back.
And now Michael van Gerwen turning on the afterburners. Dolan was waiting in the wings on 40 just in case Michael van Gerwen messed it up on his doubles once again. He's done that a few times today. But Michael van Gerwen with a cushion of 40 plus these.
93.
But it's only 93 added to the score.
The ace up Dolan's sleeve is that he would have the darts in the deciding leg, which it looks like we are heading for a fifth of the afternoon.
Or are we? Dolan may well have other ideas. It's a 180 to just about get himself in front, and if van Gerwen does not find the treble here,
84.
he could well have been in trouble. As it is, it's still a very tall ordered Brendan Dolan.
It really is.
He might well fancy his chances now. Van Gerwen's on 144. Dolan might well feel he's got 6 darts from here. Needs to make the most of these first and foremost.
Well, the 180 forced a mistake from Michael van Gerwen.
137.
Make no mistake. Now he has the chance to put it right, and he has to put it right. And he's not going to. Dolan will get match darts.
138.
Well,
44.
Van Gerwen is waiting to pounce on double 3 if he gets the opportunity. But you have to say that is a very, very big if. Brendan Dolan is now 2 darts away, potentially here, and he finds double 16, and that has to go down as one of the biggest upsets on the European Tour. Brendan Dolan, for the first time in 3 years, has made it through to the quarterfinals of a European Tour event, and Michael van Gerwen, who has 25 European Tour titles in his illustrious career, will not be adding to his tally this weekend in Denmark. The Danish Darts Open, an inaugural tournament, the first ever visit to this tournament for Michael van Gerwen, has ended in a 3rd round defeat. And as he bids farewell, Brendan Dolan can just drink up the atmosphere and get ready for a meeting in the last 8 this evening with Steve West. 2 unseeded players meeting in the quarterfinals.
You've just beaten
Brilliant,
the best darts
Brendan
player
Dolan.
in the world. You're in the quarterfinals.
It's a brilliant win for me. Fantastic, but you didn't see half of the best player in the world there. I think that's the worst I've seen him play in maybe 5 years or more. I just can't believe it. And it put me under pressure. I never normally under pressure, but because he was not hitting it, I felt pressure today, and I'm just glad I got away with it because I didn't play near my best either, but Michael was poor.
That's the thing, though. When it's MVG, like when it used to be Phil Taylor, even when they're not playing anywhere near their best, the pressure is still on you because it's not very often you get chances to beat them.
That's the problem. I don't know when it'll be. It could be 7, 8 years since we beat Michael. But that is the problem because you expect so much of them and you expect to be in an amazing game. And when they don't happen for them, they're human. And it just didn't happen for Michael there. Extreme pressure on me to get the job done. But I'm glad I did. I got away with it. Bring on the next game.
Look, we talked about you coming back into some form and winning some games again, but if anything could possibly underline it, it is beating the world #1 on a big stage.
Definitely, and I played a really good last leg against the throw when it counted, and I'll take some delight out of that. Definitely, I know I am nowhere near as good as Michael van Gerwen. I know that because the last 4, 5, 6, 7 years have proved that. I'm fighting my way back. I think today I had a bit of luck, and you need a bit of luck in this game, and please God it stays with me.
Better luck at the Irish. Brendan Dolan, the history maker, has beaten the world #1 and blown the Danish Darts Open wide open. One more session of darts for you, the quarterfinals, the semi-finals and the final tonight to see the first player crowned the Danish Darts Open champion.